Another fight week, another main event, headlining the card. I mean, this is the way it is for you every time now, right? I mean, what's the feel?
Another day, um, another opportunity to go out and show everybody I'm one of the best in the world.
I know last one didn't necessarily agree with the result, a heartbreaking one. I mean, how do you move past that? I mean, is it difficult to kind of put that behind and just press forward?
Yeah, I mean, really the thing that we want to stress, I mean, not to go back too far and just like sound like poor sport or anything like that. You know, we just want accountability for the judges, things like that. Um, that's really it. You know, we have a bad day in the office, we pay for it. It's like mistakes happen. It's part of the game on everyone. There's a human error involved in everything. Just, you know, we want to see something in place with the commissions or something to hold some accountability to the judges that might have got it the wrong way. I think it's important for the sport to move forward.
Yeah, I know you say you don't want to hash it, but I'm curious too because I tend to agree with that as well. But have you heard like a perfect solution of like what you think is this is the thing that'll fix it?
Only thing that I heard that like really makes sense is to me, where it seems like a no-brainer, is if one guy out of the three or girl, whoever, you know, sees something different than the other two. All right, well, what did you see? You know, like just as simple as that. You know, if you're the one rogue judge that went the other way, now all right, there's a bunch of those instances where you're going against two judges. What are you seeing all the time? You know, like that's I guess mainly the biggest thing. More accountability for what they saw when they went against the two other judges that are doing the same job they are.
Nice, yeah, good idea. All right, so how do you move beyond it? I mean, I know it's, I guess loss is just part of the sport, but do you just like put it in the behind, or do you like pray, take lessons? What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, it's not my first loss, so you know, it's the first time I felt like I lost, though, that I thought I won. You know, so a little trickier there, but I mean, at the end of the day, you got to have a short memory, wins, losses, all that. You get too high off a last win, and you go in thinking you're untouchable. You're going to get touched. You know, so it's like the sport's very humbling. It's always on to the next, no matter what, even after a win or a loss. So, you know, we understand we got a tough competitor ahead of us, and to not give him my full focus would be a mistake. So all hands on deck for this one, and all the focus is on Arnold Allen.
Yeah, and I kind of joke about the main event thing, but I mean, are you able to sit back and be like, man, like I'm just racking up headliners, like clearly one of the biggest names in the division, one of the biggest names in the sport. I mean, is that still pretty surreal to you, or does it feel like, hey, that's what we worked for?
That's what we work for, definitely. That's why we work so hard to have these opportunities, and there are no, for the most part, easy main events. You know what I mean? You want to be one of the best in the world. You're going to take on stiff competition, and you need a strong B side, you know, in order to have a main event. So, shout out to Arnold Allen, 9-0, earning his spot, and we're going to see, you know, what's what. But yeah, definitely 5-round fights seem to be the new norm, and a 3-rounder just seems like a half a fight now. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, sometimes, I mean, I know not to get too far on the last one, but sometimes you see these fights. I think Ariel brought up a good point. I'll bring it up again, where, you know, maybe these number one contender fights should, you know, be main events, 5-round fights. You find out more, and you know, it makes sense.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. On the right side, I guess, I mean, talking about the side, but staying busy, right? I mean, has that been exciting for you? Has it been challenging for you to keep up this pace, especially in preparing for 5-round fights? What's that been like?
Well, prior to this year, it's been a little on and off, so I'm happy to be busy. You know, I like to earn my opportunities, like I always talk about, and you don't earn them by sitting on your ass. So we've been in the gym, training. Why not go out and compete and stay busy? We're not getting any younger.
Yeah. Fresh name, I guess, kind of at least towards the top of the division with Arnold Allen. I mean, how long had you been kind of tracking him and seeing him as a guy that, you know, maybe I'll be facing down the road?
I mean, 90% of my focus, if not more, is just on myself, improving my strengths and weaknesses, you know, and just becoming a well-rounded, more complete fighter every time I step in there. And that's always the goal, no matter who we're going against. And then obviously there's things he does well we pay attention to, things like that. But I more so, I have my coaches kind of dialed in on all that stuff. I just try to focus on myself and be the best version of myself every practice and every time I step in the octagon.
I mean, obviously the skills will be what they are once we get in there, but I just wonder about like the experience side of it. Like when you think back to your first main event, your first 5-round fight, I mean, do you think like you definitely have some advantages now at this point of, you know, because when you go, you don't know what you don't know, right? I mean, do you see something in that you hold an advantage here?
Well, in these 5, you know, I've answered some questions in those five-round fights. You've had some to look at. For him, there's still questions out there, and he's gonna have an opportunity to answer some of those on Saturday night. But it's the unknown with him, and you kind of know what you're getting with me. So we'll see how that plays out.
Do you think about stakes of what's it mean? Because I think everybody's like, is this a number one contender fight? Is it not? The champ's going up right now, so what is it? Do you worry about that stuff or think about it at all?
Well, you never really know, right? Even when you think you do, and hindsight 2020. But I just know the way I've based my whole career, even getting to the UFC, just one win is always going to put me one step closer to the ultimate goal, which was eventually getting to the UFC. And when I got to the UFC, another win will eventually get me one step closer to the title. And that's just kind of what I go through. So as far as focusing on what's after this and what's next, I can't control that the most. All I can control is how well I perform on Saturday night. And if I do that well enough, then it's only going to put me that much closer to the belt.
Last thing for me, I mean, obviously your striking, your durability, it's all been very well proven. He had a really explosive performance last time out, but, kind of went the distance a lot before that. So I guess when you see this, like, what are you expecting? When you see your styles come together, like, is this going to be an explosive fight, or is this one that you got to be ready to grind for 25?
I feel like every time you step in there, you got to be ready to grind for 25. And if you have a chance to get out of there quick, all the better. But we're always prepared for a 5-round grueling fight, and that's no different this Saturday night. Hopefully, it's always better when you get out of there early, but we're prepared for whatever it takes.
When you said you didn't really particularly prepare for him, you're always focusing on yourself. Has it always been like that for you? And in that sense, where camps were always about just working on bettering your skills, because I could see where that makes a lot of sense. Because short-term fights pop up, if you're working too hard on one particular fighter, you might be throwing yourself back. But has it always been that way for you?
Yeah, for sure, and that's the mindset. Like Rob, in the early part of his career, I don't know if he's really ever fought any of the guys he was originally scheduled to fight. So you can kind of get lost up in that. But obviously, you want to know the opponent you're going against. You want to do your research. But at the end of the day, I think if you spend more of your focus on yourself and just improving your weaknesses and getting better with your strengths, I just think it pays out more in the long term, and becoming more of a well-completed fighter is just gonna work out in the long term for you. Yeah, so that's most of my focus day in, day out, is just becoming a better martial artist, complete fighter.
So does that process, is that sort of even a weekly thing in training, or is it you just go back to the last fight or two, or are you basing every week, you look to see how you felt that week, you and your coaches look and you say, we need to focus on this, I'm not feeling good at this? I mean, what does that sort of look like when you're really dialing it down, especially preparing for a fight?
Yeah, it's both. In camp is going to be a lot of focus kind of around what the opponent's going to do. Don't get me wrong. I know it sounds kind of awkward, but we're gonna stay within a game plan of things he does well and things we're looking to do, and with that, it's like there might be spin-offs or questions off that, and then ideally, then there's just basic training where I'm trying to make improvements in between the fights, and that's not going to slow down just because I got a certain person that likes to fight a certain way. We're just trying to, fill all the buckets and not put the emphasis too much on the opponent, although we are, well aware of the things they bring to the table.
It's interesting. We saw him in here today, and then we see you come in, and you clearly look like the bigger guy. I mean, do you feel like you're going to be the stronger guy in there? And do you think that he's maybe going to have issues dealing with your size and strength?
I'm not sure, honestly. I haven't stepped across from him like that or anything. And muscles are cool, but they don't really win fights a ton of times. So I don't put too much emphasis on that. But we'll see how it goes, man. You have all these grand plans for how things are going to work out, and then you go in there and it goes a whole nother way than you thought. So we're just prepared for everything, anything. And but clearly he's 9-0 in the UFC. He's done something right, obviously, to get this opportunity, and I'm sure he's looking to capitalize, but so are we, and that's going to make for a hell of a main event come Saturday.
When you come in and you have a guy that's across that has like a 9-0, would that be extra special to take that 0 away? And is that something that you even think about, or is it just like, he's going to lose eventually? I mean, it's not like you try harder to take that first one for him.
Well, it's not like I'm not trying to take his, that's not my emphasis, but he's also not the first undefeated fighter that I've come across looking to, stake their claim. When you're en route to the title, there aren't easy fights, and I'm well aware of that, and Yeah, I understand he's got a skill set that has, put him in a good position to get the job done. But I just feel like, when you get to that top 5, it's going to take doubling down on everything that got you there, and it's just a whole nother game. And I plan to, apply that on Saturday, just kind of different levels, man. I just got to go out and perform like I know I can, and that's where the pressure lies.
Best of luck on Saturday.
Thank you.